catch Cal is how Calvin Austin calls himself on social media. And, he's got a point. But there are also some counterpoints. Good afternoon to you. Good Wednesday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the new Double Shot Show. It comes your way at 4 p.m. Eastern every weekday. The new arrivals, Mike Williams and Preston Smith, are officially in the fold. They practiced, they spoke afterward, and they're going to participate this coming weekend. Now, it's easy to think and to envision to yourself that Williams is going to step onto the field and have some instant impact. I would like to see him at least get targeted a time or two. It's also arguably easier to think that part of what influenced Omar Khan to not go and spend some high draft pick or even more capital than that on bringing in an outside wide receiver was that he kind of likes what Cal's done. And I know this for a fact. He does. They all do over the past couple of weeks. So what becomes vital from there, I think, is that, you need to get Pat Freiermuth involved. You need to, keep Darnell Washington involved. Connor Hayward's out there. He's not getting the ball. These guys are all capable of making plays, especially Pat. But you're going to need to find out in some form or other what you have as a WR2 possibility in Cal. And that's not an easy call. That's not as automatic as it might seem after the past couple of weeks. Cal's stats in 8 games. He's got 14 catches on 25 targets. Now, he's got 257 yards to show for that. That's an 18.4 average. It's the best on the team. He's got a couple touchdowns, obviously had the 55-yarder. And I'm not even throwing in the 73-yard punt return. Cal's gotten some stuff done. 101 yards after the catch. And again, that's just on 14 catches. But I have a hard time getting past the 14 versus the 25. The 14 catches on 25 targets is not a great ratio. It's one of the least healthy ratios on the team. And that means that for you to not be able to catch Cal, he's got to have the appropriate separation. Yes, he works his rear end off when it comes to running routes, including in practices. He's a perfectionist. I don't have enough good things to say about this kid. Okay, whether it's as a player, as a person, the way he carried himself through his injury as a rookie, the whole year. But there's got to be more there. He has to have some space between him and the guy next to him, or what happens? Right, he gets engulfed, or the pass gets defended. We've seen it a lot. I believe in him, okay? I want to believe in him even more. And I believe that the only way, in turn, that you can find out more is to throw him the ball more, but to make sure that they're the kind of routes that aren't just where he'll go out, turn around, and wait. Because you've seen those don't work. Those don't work at all. Get him in motion. You know why? Right. That's why. When we come back, I'm going to be joined by Chris Halleck.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Joined now by Chris Halleck. And Chris, when you look at these new guys coming in, we can all talk about their skill sets, their statistics, their achievements in both of these guys' cases, both Mike Williams and Preston Smith. And at the same time, don't football people also talk about we got a good thing going here in terms of the locker room, the vibe, and the accountability. And how do they fit in? I mean, that's a major, major point of conversation, and that runs all the way to the top. Omar Khan has to think about it, even as he's making the acquisitions.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely weighed into any kind of midseason move here. But just the vibe that I got this morning from being in the locker room right away, seeing Mike Williams and Preston Smith both in there. They were very welcoming. Breeden Fehoko, who played with Mike Williams with the Chargers, they greeted each other, and Dean Lowry and Preston Smith used to play with each other too. So there's some familiarity there with a few of the guys in there, but these guys I think are kind of used to whether it's midseason or it's a new team and it's OTAs for the first time or whatever it is, kind of getting acclimated and being able to use a Mike Tomlinism here, get on a moving train. Like, that's the thing that he likes to say. And I think that they're going to do everything they can to make these things work. And these are guys who've been in the league for a long time too, which obviously helps.
Yeah, there's still something of a gosh, wow. I know this is going to sound almost like pandering or whatever to a Pittsburgh crowd, but it actually is a thing among players when they come to the Steelers. I remember Marcus Golden telling me, this is really early in last season. He said, you hear about it. There's an aura, there's a mystique that's built up about it. Everyone, his Steelers are on so many nationally televised games, night games. So you see them, the imagery shows up, whether it's the Steel Mills or the images of Terry Bradshaw and Mean Joe Green and whatever else here. And then you get here and you go, whoa, it's actually a real thing. Like, I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler. I don't know that everybody gets as gosh wow as Marcus did. He's a little bit of a heart on his sleeve type. But when you see these guys come in, and this was Williams' response when asked about coming here and what he hopes to bring.
For sure. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I'm a playmaker. I want to make plays. I want to get the ops that but I'm going to go out here, work, and show that I deserve to be on the field.
Okay, now that's more of the norm, right? I'm a playmaker. I can do this. I can help. I got to prove myself and everything else like that. Both of them, come across as being they get it, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And Preston Smith seems really excited. It might be that first time that they run through through the tunnel onto the field and they see all the terrible towels waving and they're wearing the black and gold and they're like, oh, okay, this is what it means to be, whatever it is. That might be the moment. It might be the first time that they just trotted out there on those fields not too far behind me and they were wearing the Steelers helmets and practice jerseys and be like, okay, now I'm a Steeler. But right now these guys are so center focused on like, I gotta get everything down here. And Preston Smith was really excited about just being like, he's like, I'm a 3-4 guy. That's what I've been playing. And this year they changed to a 4-3. It wasn't a great fit. So
he asked out. He acknowledged it today. He asked out. He demanded a trade always sounds like, so I walk into somebody's office and start pounding on their desk. But he asked for a trade to get out. And when you look at his situation in doing that, and then you look at Williams also being in a negative situation, meaning with the Jets, A, because they stink, and B, because they had just brought in Devontae Adams. And both of them also have something to prove. If they're at the end or close to the end of their NFL careers, they would both want to go out making a significant impact. Nobody wants to go out on a whimper, right?
Absolutely. And there's one thing that's, and I'm going to write about this on DK Pittsburgh Sports here in a little bit. I'm kind of curious here about Mike Williams' fit, and maybe there's a little bit more optimism here because he said something today about the fit not being good with the Jets because, he was coming off of the ACL, and so he didn't get OTAs, he didn't get mini camp, he didn't get training camp preseason, and he's like, Aaron Rodgers is really detailed with the way he wants everything, and I wasn't able to be part of any of that. And that kind of makes sense when you hear all the stories about Aaron Rodgers, how he wants things this way and wants things that way, and if Mike Williams doesn't fit into it, then...
Yeah, well, Chris, Rodgers acknowledged that pretty much yesterday. You know what I mean? If you think about what it was that Rodgers said, Rodgers gets asked about the exchange,
Yep.
And all Rodgers has to say, he begins talking right away about how Williams came in, and not that it was Williams' fault or anything, but that he wasn't available, he wasn't ready, he wasn't going to be able to, be doing everything that he needed to do. Now, what you have to do if you're Williams, the first thing beyond anything else, and this can happen in practice, is go out there and show everybody that you're healthy, that you might not be the Williams from 5 years ago, but you might be still a really good high point combat catch guy in the National Football League.
And honestly, I think that's kind of why I think this might be a pretty decent fit. Now, they don't need Mike Williams to be the Mike Williams from 5 years ago, as you said. They have George Pickens to be that guy. George Pickens is the guy who can go out there and be the spectacular player. Mike Williams even said today, like, that dude is ridiculous. I mean, he says the same thing that everybody else says about George Pickens. They have that guy. But if Mike Williams can then be a second guy where it's like, hey, probably a good portion of the time when we throw you the ball, it's going to be Russell Wilson throwing the ball a million miles in the air so that you can go up and get it because you're 6'4", 218, and you have a history of being able to out-jump those cornerbacks and be able to get the ball up in the air. And if that's something else that he can add to this offense where it's like, okay, now we can't just put everybody over to Georgia's side. Now we kind of have to, that just has a domino effect on the rest of the offense. This might actually be a pretty decent fit. Not anything that puts them way over the top, but it could be something that kind of has a better fit than people might have initially expected.
The last thing I've got for you today, Chris, is to, I feel it's worth expressing on this show the way this team has come together. Peyton Wilson was telling me a few days ago, he said it's become a family. There's a love. It was a word he used actually multiple times in his talk with me among these guys. We're sticking up for each other. It's not just in the positional groups. It's not just as a defense. He said it's offense, defense, special teams. And the fact that all three of those phases have performed as well as they have. And everybody's always underlining and bold-facing special teams, right? It's contributed to that. So even when veterans like this, established veterans like this come in, there has to be an understanding, hey, we respect the heck out of you guys. This is our room. This is the way we do stuff. And I don't even mean the Steelers. I'm talking about the 2024 Steelers because they have come together, haven't they?
Yes, and this is a very different team. I'm not saying it's different, like, oh, you should expect great things. I'm saying the way that they're going about their business is different.
Yes.
It's one of the
not
things
last year. It's not last year. It's just not.
No, and again, they're seeing that urgency that we heard from Art Rooney II back in January, and that kind of resonated throughout the rest of the offseason. You sense it from the players, not where these guys are walking around the locker room with these wide eyes and everything. No, that's just it's a kind of a calming, like, just let's go to work. It's that go to work mentality every single day. Had a good conversation with Russell Wilson about that yesterday. Not with a tape recorder or anything, but just having that conversation with him, being like, man, there's a great work ethic here. This is a guy who knows what it's like to be on a team that has that type of a work ethic, that has a high standard for how they're supposed to play too. It's there. This team has that portion of it, and who knows how Mike Williams and Preston Smith are going to fit into that culture. If it does, then it just makes this team overall better, not just on the field, but in the locker room too.
Right. They're deeper. They're stronger. Bottom line, that was Omar's objective. When we come back, J1 Cube.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
Time now for today's J1Q, and for that we go to Jeff Shearer in Paris, Illinois.
What's up, DK? This is Jeff from Skunkworks. Got a question for you. How do you see Preston Smith and Mike Williams assimilating into the Steelers for the second half of this season. And I know you don't do predictions, but I will. I think this team's got a playoff win in it now. Thanks.
You know, Jeff, they're going to get assimilated. They're going to get put in there, I think, gradually. We're going to talk a lot about them this week because they're new. But I have a feeling that come Sunday, you're not going to see, a whole bunch of snaps. You might not even notice that they participated, to be honest with you here. When you're talking about the offense having performed as well as it has, you're going to be looking more toward getting, as I mentioned, Calvin Austin the ball. You're going to be looking toward getting Pat Freiermuth the ball, Darnell Washington, all the participants on the moving train. Yeah, you want to get Williams involved. You want to make sure that he's out there. But Preston Smith is a different case. Preston Smith knows why he was brought in. He knows who's in front of him. He knows what TJ Watt can do. And, of course, Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig. So I wouldn't put too much there on this idea that they're going to come in and have some kind of big post-trade deadline impact or anything like that. Look, it's a good football team. It was a good football team. It's now a deeper football team. I think that's the healthiest way to think about these additions. They're not looking for significant impact here. I'm not going to be the one to cut up Williams or to cast doubt or whatever, but you have to keep it real here. He's coming off a major knee injury from last season. He's coming off, not being utilized all that much where he was with the Jets, just 12 catches all season. And now to think of him as being the same guy that was scorching people downfield with the Chargers, that's probably not fair, not just to him, but also to Omar Khan. Let's manage the expectations with this one. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody checking out the new Double Shot show. See, I still do that all the time because of the daily shots. The new Double Shot show, which will be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern.